B-Pod Studios.
This is Talkin' Rock. Talkin' Rock. Your backstage pass to some of your favorite rock artists. Here's your host, Meltdown.
Yes, Johannes from Avatar is my guest today. Only one interview this week, but it's a good one, as we talked for quite a while. As a matter of fact, I think this was his last interview. We had a chance to talk about the new song, Captain Goat. We talked about the video as well. If you get a chance, I think it's on their Instagram or their Facebook, where they go behind the scenes. You can kind of see, at the green screen. And he talked about being in this pool for hours on end. So we talk about that. The new record, what's that all about? When does it come out? What's it called? Well, he didn't have many answers for me there. We talked about just a myriad of things. You can watch this interview at WRIF.com. Personally, like I mentioned in the interview, I became an Avatar fan the second I saw them. I think it was 2017. I saw them at a place here in Detroit called St. Andrews Hall, and I was blown away. I was mesmerized. I sat back and watched the entire show, and I went out the next day and got their latest album called Avatar Country, and I've gotten every record since. So without further ado, let's touch base with Avatar's Johannes. As I caught up with him, I think he was at home because his dogs were around.
I've been doing a few interviews before this one, and the dogs decided to bark between the interviews and not during so far, so it's a good day.
I'm a huge dog fan, so how many dogs do you have?
We have two dogs. I have two Chihuahuas, a long coat boy. His name is Vincent Van Dog, as people name their dogs. And then we have the short coat 1-year-old is Lilith.
Lilith, okay.
I suspect that she's part cat, though.
Yeah, I think I've heard of the Vincent Van Dog before. I may have seen it in an interview or something somewhere before. But
yeah. Oh, there we go. I jinxed it.
That's all right. It's all good. Let them be part of it as well. So, hey, you're coming here to Detroit, of course, at the Fillmore on the 20th of November. But before that, are you releasing the new record before that?
Yes, we are. And I know the date. They just don't let me tell you yet the date. They have a whole plan for it, but I assure you it's an excellent date.
It's a good date. It's a good date. Okay.
It's a very good date. I saw the date and went, wow, that's a good date.
All right, now you got my brain working. So is the record finished?
Everything about how it sounds is finished, and it sounds amazing. And now we're getting very close to have everything that looks like an album to look like an album as well. So we're close, and we're in a hurry. So that's good.
Okay, yeah, because I know not only are you guys, obviously sonic, but you're also visual. And I was thinking about this. I was just telling someone today, the first time I saw you guys was in 2017. I was like mesmerized, and I've seen you guys every time since you come through town, and you've played everywhere. But the visual part has to come together too, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, it's just what makes Avatar, I guess, that we think about and enjoy thinking about everything and how it comes together, So, yeah.
So the new video obviously is really cool as well, the Captain Goat video. Talk about that.
Thank you. Well, it's all fed out of the song, right? That starting with the song, Tim came up with the guitars, right? I hear it, and sometimes when a song is really, really good, it becomes, you get so strong a visual reaction to it that it feels like hallucinating. And this was one of those that just became very intuitively written, with all the water and the goat on the water and the spiritual journey through the dark and all that is in there. It just grew very organically through just feeling the music, and that's continued into making the music video. Then, of course, those songwriters' hallucinations I get, if you turn those into a music video, is often very, 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 very expensive. But we found ways to have it make sense and tie together to be less abstract with this journey through the underworld, very much borrowed from Greek mythology. Of course, the having a goat there is, of course, from a more left-handed path through spirituality, but still borrows from Greek mythology, and including, of course, Hendrik being an incredibly sexy siren, and then you have Norse mythology with Jonas being tied to the cliffs like Loki. And Tim is Necken, which I don't know how to translate to English, but it's also very Scandinavian folklore, probably other places in Europe too. And John is something that would be basically a drager, a lyktgubbe, something like that. So borrowing from these different paths, but it becomes this, all old mythologies have this you have Odysseus when it comes to Greek mythology again, but this travel where they meet the strange creatures, the Cyclops, and fight skeletons and whatnot. So it borrows from that, a very mythological treatment, and it was fun, especially the singing underwater part, which is done in a swimming pool. That they use it was nice and warm because it was mainly used for rehabs purposes in the daytime. And it's a good thing that the face paint covers how painful it got towards the end. After a few, once we have been in there for a few hours. You can still, if you pay attention towards the end of the video, you see I can't really open my eyes as much anymore. So it's kind of swollen shut. But the redness is covered by the paint, so that was good.
Yeah, I was wondering how the paint actually stayed on. But yeah, you said that...
It's lipstick. That's a trick.
Oh, okay, I got you. You said it's a negotiation with the harsh state of being and finding acceptance as you navigate the ruthless darkness of life. So a positive, uplifting song from Avatar.
Well, that's the weird twilight zone in which Avatar exists, right? That we are... Avatar, as far as a heavy metal band, we really intend to be first and foremost a good time, right? But at the same time, the writing comes from the whole concept of finding dark rooms in your soul, in your brain, in your mind, and open the doors into those forbidden places and kind of air it out. And hopefully by keep on doing this and try to force yourself to be honest with who you are and where you are at with each album, maybe get closer and closer to some kind of sense of truth. And that side of it, yeah, it's a dark endeavor, but then also believe, I don't know, I believe it's healthy. And I think it's just, what do I think? Sometimes I talk and I think 1 second behind, and I've agreed with myself so far, so it's not a problem yet. But trying to put a nice bow on top of this, it's no, I think it's this that duality of what Avatar is as a band. We're all gonna die. Let's disco.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, that's funny. So this record, was this the first single? I mean, for this song, was this the one that you guys wanted to pick as the first one, or did it just kind of show itself as the first one? And how does this relate to the rest of the record?
It relates poorly to the whole album because Avatar doesn't write the same song twice. So that's by design, but it just shows that a lot of things are different this time, as they should be and as they always are. How we choose, well, it kind of reveals itself over time. You just kind of circle back to people in the demo stage of things while writing and doing the pre-productions, what you get excited about then. And already at that stage, there was a lot of excitement about this song as a potential single, as a standout track in that kind of way. That, because it's the balance. We always, obviously, we try to only put good songs on an album, and they're all there for a reason. And then it's just a fact of life that some of them are good in a more direct way, I guess. And this, I think, is a very direct song. And people, people felt at the demo stage of the song comes back when rehearsing it, and it comes alive when we really start playing it together, real drums and everything in the room. Because while writing, we use a lot of drum machines, so you can just boom, boom, boom. Everybody can sit and do ideas in their own little corner. So it's So it's therefore rehearsing is the first time you get to really feel what it's feel like being people playing this song before entering the studio and doing it properly there. And in each and every step of this, there's been something, just one of those songs that was something to it. And I think it stands out in what we usually do, but at the same time, built on building blocks that is part of the way we do our heavy metal, right?
Yeah. I can't wait to hear the record. So you can't tell us the date it's going to be released. Can you tell us the title of the album or no? Or not yet?
Can is a big word. I mean, there's nothing technically stopped. There's no gun to my head, but they would be pissy. But it's a beautiful title.
It's a beautiful
really ties it together.
Date
invokes mystique and tempting you to break taboos. It lures you into a forbidden place because you see a little light in the dark there, somewhere in the meadow between the trees, and that is what the title is all about. And when you see the title, you're gonna go like, ah.
All right, now it all makes sense.
Now you know everything except the title, basically. And isn't that just as good?
Yeah, that's great. So, is this record going to be out by the time you do shows with Metallica and Maiden?
Oh yeah. No, not Iron Maiden, because that's this year. Okay. But Metallica is next year, so yeah, it will be old news.
Metallica.
If we talk, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, but it's still within the same 12-month period we get to open for Iron Maiden and Metallica. I feel I need a time machine and go back to high school and go ha to someone. But at the same time, most people were just really nice and cool in high school. And I had a great time. And people who have reached out have been very proud and supportive and and nice. So it just says something about me being a jerk, I guess. But it is an incredible thing. It's just a matter of, we have tons of different influences from different stages of lives as people in bands do, But all that being said, in the most real, practical, literal meaning of the words, I don't think there would be an Avatar without Metallica. Because John went skiing when he was 12 and broke a leg. And he was bedridden, and his mom bought him some CDs. John became a Metallica fan, and therefore he wanted to start a band and be a drummer. And that was what fueled him when meeting Jonas, and that he started a band. It was that spark, that initiative, that the band that I then would join 1 year later. Basically, we were all still kids at that point, but that was a band for me to join that they named Avatar. That had rehearsed like twice and fired 3 singers or whatever before I joined. Wouldn't exist without Metallica. Impossible to imagine. So there we are, right? There's no. So it's you get a lot of those if you're lucky, and we are lucky. You get a bunch of those moments where you feel certain things come full circle, and where the fan and the artist within you get to meet and get to do a cool thing together. And Metallica, hard for me to think of things that will top that, and from the personal meaning to the sheer size of it all, certain feeling of annoyance. So I'm making sure, because once reaching those shows, I feel like it's my job to go, well, F those guys, I'm here to prove a kick ass at this mod, for 45 minutes or whatever. So I'm living with all this gratitude and humbleness now. And we'll do so until then you have to shake that off and just like let that moment on stage be your moment. And then, which is tricky with those kind of bands, because they have a round stage shape, like it's such a Metallica stage. Like, this is my stage, not really. Oh, damn it, guys, was the same. We opened. So we're doing our Maiden now in July around Europe, right? But that was also our first trip to Brazil, was opening for them a few times, which is a very good way to go to a country for the first time.
Yeah.
Usually you travel in a van if you're lucky. So this was a good start. And also there was, hadn't been that nervous about going on stage since we were the kids that were also, 15, 16-year-old babies who started this band. hadn't felt those kind of nerves since then. But then once on stage, shaking that off, trying to claim ownership. Yeah, but this is my time. And you look around, oh, that's Eddie. Oh, that's so cool, and because it's already all their stuff, the little stairs, the little things written on the floor, the set list is all there. Oh, sweet, they're doing that one, So it's a challenge, to not. I'm gonna enjoy it as a fan. I also need to try to be competitive about it, or play some kind of Jedi mind tricks with myself to overcome it, to also feel that once we're there that we actually deserve being there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I told you that the first time I saw you guys play, which was at St. Andrews Hall with about, I don't know, maybe 800 to 1,000 people, I was like mesmerized right away. And then you guys played Riff Fest for us a few years ago, and I'm watching from the crowd, and I think there was a lot of people there that may not have known who you guys were. Even my son and his buddy were with me, and they were like in their late teens at the time. And like people, like I think people really dug it. My son's friend said, he goes, "These guys are great," or something along those lines. Like you guys opened up eyes to your band.
Well, that's nice, and thank you for giving us that opportunity. For that matter, yeah. I mean, I think what we do, when it connects with people, it seems to connect deeply. I don't, and maybe it's just I'm also caught in my bubble, right? But I still have an impression that there aren't many casual Avatar fans. You're either in or out, and I'm okay with that, because when we do music, when we go on stage, it's certainly with the idea that we are 50% of the show. And something is created between us and the audience, and that is Avatar. And same in the studio. Yeah, we write about what we want to write about. We do the music we want to do, but we also bother mixing it and putting out there. So we also balance all our own ambitions and ideas and egos with the idea that there's a receiver for this, right? So there's all about communication and articulation. But all that being said, it's also clear we're not making top 40 music either, right? So we're only interested in taking this band as far as we can on our terms, whatever that might mean at any given time changes because we change. But whatever our terms are at the moment, we do it on those terms. I had a point with this. I swear I did. I'm just grateful for people, when they dig it, that they seem to dig it so deeply. That seems to be the reward of being so hard to work with as Avatar is. That when it's right, it's right.
I've never heard you guys were hard to work with. Jay Rustin's a friend of mine. He said that. First of all, he talked a little bit about the. He texted me about the choir you guys use for Captain. So tell me about that.
Yeah, Dresden's Bergsteigerchor. Now there's a bunch of things on the album, including a choir that some parts and stuff that we wanted to do more orchestrated things on a couple of songs. So there are, you got your cellos and double basses and violins and violas. You got your brass section and you got a choir for a few things. And it was also just because choir arrangements we have done plenty of 30 years, right? But usually we do the Freddie Mercury version of it. We layer me 16 times, 32 times. We may or may not, depending on the circumstances, add Tim and Hendrik and do the same with them. And it's great and it works. And that sounds cool. But it's hard to fake a room of human beings, a room of flesh making sounds together. It's first by the same logic that you want the drummer and bass player to do their takes together or whatever, the stuff that we like to do like that. So it felt it was finally time to really think ahead, make sure that there's sheet music for it and bring in outside choir. And they were cool cats, It's funny because Dresden, where we recorded right outside of Dresden in this castle in Röhrsdorf, which was also is where we did Feathers and Flesh. And so this is old East Germany. So, you know, you got between the decades, insane amounts of history and things in a part of the world like that. And this choir is older than the GDR, I guess you say in English, right? It's older than the Third Reich. It's, you know, it's survived through all these different definitions of what Germany is up until this day. So already there, they carry so much history. And what did it say? Like when they had like when the choir turned 75. Yeah, they had members in the choir. Not that they were gone when we met them, but had sung in the same choir for 75 years. Wow. You know, so he started I think that person's dad was one of the founders, so he joined when he was 14 and retired from the choir at the age of 89. So yeah, so that's cool, and they focus specifically on like drinking songs and mountaineering songs and drinking mountaineering songs. So it's a total cool vibe, and we went out with them in center of Dresden. Was this pub, beer hall that was very the Las Vegas version of a German pub with little carousels to drink in and ridiculously big beer glasses and the drawings on the wall and everything, like really that, but in the most awesome way. And they sat around this round King Arthur size round table and, you know, went through the whole repertoire for us, including some mountaineering songs in Swedish. So they don't discriminate with language or origins of the songs as long as it's about mountains. And yeah, so we taught them some semi-satanic spiritual journey sea shanties and songs about dying, and they sang those, and it was cool.
And, you know, it's kind of funny you mentioned the drinking and stuff. So you got the drinking, you got the guy at the boat, you know, the goat, Captain Goat, and the whole thing. It's almost got a little bit of a Monomarth vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Someone wrote in the comment section of the video, like, there's got to be the rowing thing in the mosh pit on this song, and I'm sure why not. I mean, this song in particular, I guess, have way too little double kick drum to be a proper Amon Amarth song.
That's true.
But
yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's not like I said, the video, it touches on Norse mythology, so there's that. But if in Scandinavia, between Amon Amarth and Enslaved and Bathory and Unleashed, right? There's so many bands that in one way or another touch on Vikings properly in a way that we don't really do.
Right.
But just a sense of water. I don't know if it's lack of imagination or just because I grew up next to it, but I keep coming back to water a lot in the writing. It means so many, you can drown in it, you can drink in it, it's life, it's death. Maybe it's just a low-hanging fruit as a writer. Or I keep going there because you kept staring down into it as a kid, you know, and swim around in it. So, but for whatever reason, there's water, lots of water with Avatar.
Yeah, Jay said that he was impressed also. He thought it was pretty wild how you would talk back and forth to some of these guys, because you're like fluent in 5 different languages, he said.
Fluent in 3.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing, I don't count them, those 3, because the other 2, when I tried to learn the other 2, I realized how similar it really is. So I grew up in Sweden with a German mother and a modem and TNT, WCW Nitro in the 90s. So between those things, English, German, and Swedish, but those are all Germanic languages. So it's pretty close to one another. And now living in Finland, I did take one Finnish class and picked up a thing or 2, but far from fluent. And that is just such a different beast altogether. And then I've been trying from time to time to get better at Italian as well, because my wife and my in-laws and all that. And also there you can tell, that's also a bit further away. So I mean, I would say I speak 3 and 3/10 of languages.
Well, I've taken at least 50 classes in German on my Peloton, and all I can do is probably count to 3, and that's only because they're going like this half the time. So that's all I.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard for you with it's the immersion, right? You need to be somewhere a bit and put it on the movies there, because that's the thing. When we're kids and we learn to speak,
Yeah.
it's everywhere, right? And people who really pick up a language, they do it by preferably by being there. Because that's another challenge for me learning Finnish is that, yeah, I have plenty of Finnish friends, but it's like we would all have to commit to speak as if I was a toddler for a year, and then we can have a real conversation again. And it's really tempting to just stick to English then, because this part of the world. I mean, our English is better than yours, so we can easily stick with it.
I don't know. I think I told you about this before, but I'm friends with Nick Lindstrom, the hockey legend, and he speaks very good English. So
yeah, it seems to be the thing, right? Well, what I think is there's certainly even some people I know who struggle with English here. They always speak. You end up speaking in that case either like heavy metal English or video game English or whatever interests you have, and therefore picking up the language from. So he struggles to remember what is the word for a fairy in English, but then he describes his arms as serpentious, as a serpent. So it's like, oh, that's a lot of points in Scrabble on that one.
That's it.
I think we are kind of illogical in what we know and don't know many times.
Hey, two more things here for you, then we'll let you fly. I know you got other interviews, but
sure.
One of the things that Jay said was that I guess your chef became sick, and you took over for that as well. You're a man of all sorts of hats.
Well, we are a few in the band who enjoy cooking, but in this castle, it was just fun because so the recording studio is in an old castle that very multi-purpose. They tried to do real groovy things with it, housing artists, having the studio, having very alternative events and all that. But for the most of the time, we had, it felt like it was ours for a big part of the time. And then with that proper big castle came a proper big castle kitchen. Frying pan was like this big and all that. So yeah, we got a kick out of, he did a pasta bolognese to us, and I felt, okay, challenge accepted. And he got sick, so I did mine, and I think I won. But he was a great guy. His thing was more it was also like he was fermenting and pickling all kind of things and turning any legume into a miso paste and having all those kind of projects going was where a lot of amazing stuff. But yeah, it's something we did it also on the last album. We ended up cooking a lot for each other. And I feel like in the last few years, I don't know if it's a very Swedish man kind of thing or men in general, but it's cooking has become a bit of a pissing contest between men. I think we found another thing to ruin by being macho about it. So we try to out satisfy each other, and we all got fat.
Yeah,
I think it was slightly more balanced on this album, but yeah, I don't know. It's something about red wine reductions when there's that huge kitchen fan that could, suffocate a fire if you needed it to. All the bells and whistles in there was fun.
Yeah, I could make oatmeal. That's about it. Hey, by the way, speaking of Jay, you use him in every album. Is there a reason you guys just click with Jay? Is he just does he get you guys more than anybody else has, or?
We promised his mom we would. And she pays us under the table for it. No, real answer is, I think with Jay, I think the only real obstacle becomes the quality of the idea. Meaning that he's been very open-minded about what kind of stuff we can put on there and put in there. I think he has such a... Now, he, as a producer, is of course most known now for working with heavy bands, right? But as a mixer, and especially I think as an engineer, he's been all over the place and gathered experiences to record all kinds of things. So everything feels possible. Songwriting wise, it's total, you're accountable. That's not his job. But he's that important ball plank and responsible, really acts as a producer. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, that once you really want to do something, we find a way to do it and make it sound good with him. And being able, especially now, because now it's been a few years, to evolve a language around what you want and don't want and figure each other out. Because especially with this album, I think it wasn't, song wise, what the songs were, it was pretty evident fairly quickly when, they fell into place relatively smoothly, all things considered, with all the crises and breakdowns and stuff that is part of it. But sound wise, mix wise, it was a bit more searching and trial and error. And we went out searching together in a way I really appreciate. We share value systems. We're all vegan. We all absolutely disgusting human beings in terms of locker room humor. But what we actually think and value lines up very nicely. And so we can, share a laugh and share anger with each other. And there's a mutual trust and respect. And I also think that we, in terms of our musical language and palette, it's called Venn diagram, right? And the overlap is big, but not to 100%, far from it. And I think that's healthy. So you still come from two different places and argue from two different places, and we're able to argue, but it's just about because you give a crap about whatever you're doing. That's the argument. And there's a lot of love while doing that. So, all those things,
Well, Johannes, it's always great to talk to you and touch base. I'm a big fan. And I can't wait to see you guys here on the 20th of November in Detroit. The record is coming out on a beautiful day. It's got a beautiful title to it. And Captain Goat is out right now. So we got you all covered. Is that everything?
Yeah, I just wonder if when you work in rock radio in Detroit, do you think about Kiss every day?
It's funny. It's funny you mention that because I did play one day. I was here I'm going to be here for 30 years. Actually, November 20th, November 1st will be my 30th anniversary at this radio station. And one day, about 10 or 12 years into my career, I played Kiss, Detroit Rock City, at the start of my show. And it was kind of like this epiphany. It was like, I'm playing Detroit Rock City in Detroit Rock City. I've already been here for like 10 years. But yeah, so sometimes I do.
That's cool because I guess with some songs, they either are embraced by the place they're about or not. I don't know what's the status of Sweet Home Alabama is in Alabama, but I guess it depends on what room you enter. But I feel it could be a total faux pas as well.
Yeah.
There must be, I imagine, a hipster section of the rock audience in Detroit will have a complicated relationship to that, right? Where it must have been absolutely forbidden at some point. Then it becomes ironic and fun, and then everybody's into it back again. And,
I think you hear Detroit Rock City at some of the sporting events and stuff like that in town. But a fun fact.
Sure, but that makes sense.
Yeah, fun fact about Sweet Home Alabama, my friend Kid Rock, who's from here, owns the guitar they wrote that song on.
There you go.
So, yeah, he paid for that one for charity. But anyways, yeah, so I can't wait to see the band. Maybe you guys can cover Detroit Rock City here.
Yeah, we were working on other Kiss covers at some point, but we don't really do covers. No time.
I got you. Well, Johannes, thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to see you guys. Have a great summer.
You too, man. Thank you.
I, for one, am looking forward to checking out the brand new record when that comes out. Whenever it comes out, whatever it's called. Not much information right there from Johannes, but good to touch base with them as well. And he's right, man. All their songs, all their records, all sound different. So, and that's a band you really have to see live. Like I told him in there, when they played that festival here a few years ago, I was kind of surprised how well my son and his buddies liked them. Like, they were there because Dad got free tickets and whatnot, but they really got into it. And I think that they won over some fans that day as well when they played at Pine Knob for Riff Fest. I think that was 2022. Anyways, that Meltdown. Thanks so much for checking out Talkin' Rock. As always, on Fridays, we compile the previous week's interviews and spit them out for you in one podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. You can help this podcast grow by giving it a 5-star rating and writing a review on Apple and iTunes. Plus, feel free to subscribe and share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for listening to Talkin' Rock.